Ken was here from the beginning of time.
Dedicated.
Thoughtful.
Committed.
Loyal.
Ken had been here for a decade. He really was one of the rocks on which the school was built, and so I always looked to him to figure out what this place was about. You know, because when you come into a new environment, you want to know what the values are and whether those values are compatible. And you just watch Ken act and what he likes, what he doesn't, what he is passionate about, what he believes in. And he was one of those people who, just by the way he conducted himself and the things he was involved in at the law school, said to me, this is a good place. This is a place where I want to be, because he really had the right, I think, values, the right approach. He had his priorities in order about what mattered and what didn't.
Professor Ken Gould joined the UALR William H. Bowen School of Law in 1973. Over the past 40 years, his presence has been the foundation for the UALR William H. Bowen School of Law.
He is the repository of knowledge of all things that have happened at the law school. From a historical standpoint, we might think of him as one of the founding fathers, in a sense. He was involved in drafting the law school constitution, and so if there's a question or something I have about a particular part of it, how it's interpreted, he knows, because he was in on the putting that together.
I frequently refer to him as our James Madison.
All the inaugural faculty really took, any inaugural faculty at a professional school takes a chance. And he took that chance and stayed with it, you know, to this very day. And it takes that kind of commitment. It took that kind of a commitment from the early faculty members to create what we have today. Those of us who are recent additions came into something that other people built, and we owe them an obligation.
Throughout the course of his career, Professor Gould has taught virtually every course in the curriculum, from civil procedure to remedies, from intellectual property to constitutional law. He has approached each class with a unique style and a genuine concern for his students. And he worked to establish lawyering skills training that was groundbreaking and has become the standard for legal education throughout the country.
We always thought of Professor Gould as one of the good guys. Not all of our professors were as supportive and kind as Professor Gould. Even though his class was difficult, civil procedure for first-year law students, Professor Gould was always very supportive. And he didn't try to pull the Professor Kingsfield routine from the paper chase. If you gave a really stupid answer when he called on you, he would sort of rescue you and say something kind like, not quite, but I can see how you might think that.
Ends of Court's a professional program that the students can participate in, and Ken Gould did a lot of work with that. And he would have to actually contact students and invite them to participate in this professional program, which was to their advantage, but he was very concerned that they had that opportunity. So as administrative assistant, he would have me write them letters, be sure I put them in their mailboxes, and then he would have me to email them and to call them. And so he really was concerned about the lawyers, about them, the students, in becoming just the best lawyer that they could be. And just in class preparation, went over and beyond the call of duty. We made folders, files, like they were really practicing law. And so I could just see the dedication that he had to the students.
I mean, at the time I came to the law school, he was teaching several courses. You know, the law school was very small. And the professors, I mean, they did everything, including probably filling the Coke, you know, machine.
Naturally, I'd never seen Ken teaching a class, but Ken was always something of a teacher for all of us, and he was wonderfully willing to give time to any of his colleagues and of course to any of his students as well. and alumni. Well, Ken has had enormous influence on the practice of law in the state of Arkansas. He's been teaching for about 40 years. He would have taught almost every student who came through Bowen at least one course. So he has taught a very large fraction of the total attorneys practicing law in the state. And I think there are a bunch of better lawyers for it.
And then as he transitioned out of the clinic, he also was instrumental in creating what is now our lawyering skills program. And that again was years ahead of its time, where the American Bar Association and every other law school has now decided we now have to teach legal skills to our graduates. Well, Ken had been doing that forever and really helped us create what I think was one of the first 2-semester required skills courses in the country.
But Professor Gould has not only had an impact in the classroom. His work on water law, both as an expert and as the founder of the Water Law Institute at Bowen, has served to teach attorneys and the community about the importance of water issues. In addition, he has given years of service to the American Bar Association, the Arkansas Bar Association, and the Association of American Law Schools.
Ken is the local authority on Arkansas water law. He puts together an excellent Water Law Institute every year that folks come from all over the state to attend. I think he has a really significant impact on the development of those issues here in Arkansas through his work there.
Professor Gould has also made an impact in the Little Rock community for his dedication to making the city a better place for everyone.
Anything he does seriously.
He was one of the key people in this community that began to talk about the importance of cycling as an alternative mode of transportation, not just a vehicle for recreation and physical fitness, which definitely is and was part of why he pushed it so hard. But when the idea of the Big Dam Bridge came along, he was one of the very first people I called. This town has gone from back in '98, when we were just starting to talk about the Big Dam Bridge, to we'd have a gathering of cyclists, and there might be 50, 60. And we dedicated the Two Rivers Park Bridge this summer in 100-degree heat in the middle of the day. There were over 300 cyclists out there. And it's that kind of thing that's helping create a place where people want to live, work, and play.
Through his involvement in the classroom and in the community, Professor Gould never lost sight of what was important: his relationships with family, friends, and colleagues.
In my position as administrative assistant, I come from a different aspect in my interaction with him. And so I see him as a boss, and we always remember those nice bosses. And Ken was such a nice boss. He was, when he had assignments for me to do, he was almost, I would say, apologetic, like, Gail, do you have time to do this? And if he did something at the last minute, he was very, I can help you. So he was a very, very nice boss, very considerate, very just concerned about me and making sure I wasn't overwhelmed.
He does embody what every law professor, every lawyer should aspire to. He's thoughtful, and when Ken is in the room, no matter how hot the topic, he brings a quiet, thoughtful, reflective addition to the conversation.
He's married to a friend of mine, Judy Lansky, and she's Jewish, and we have, you know, seders together and parties together for the holidays, and it's always fun because Ken, you know, is not Jewish, but he throws himself right into it.
One of the things that really hits me about Ken is just how fundamentally good a person he is. I remember when I was going for a difficult period in my life, he came to me and said, anything you need, I'll come and help. You can call me anytime. You need somebody picked up from school, you need any help with anything. Ken was there.
If I were to come up with one word to describe Ken, I would probably have to use a phrase like He's always there when needed. So maybe the one word should be omnipresent.
The phrase that comes to mind is the cliche, still waters run deep.
I think he's in touch with himself.
When I think of Professor Gould, the word that comes to mind for me is legacy. Professor Gould taught my father in the 70s, he taught my mother in the 80s, and he taught me in the 21st century. And because of his never-ending support for all of the law school student organizations and activities, I believe he leaves a legacy not just inside the classroom, but outside of it as well. His is a legacy that has impacted multiple generations in the legal community, and I know that the positive effects of his dedication to the teaching of law and to his students' endeavors will be felt for years to come.
I think in the long run, what we have to do is make sure that we never lose sight of what Ken established. A law school that's focused on the students, that's interested in their professional development, and particularly interested in teaching them how to be good, ethical, and effective lawyers. And I think if we do that, then it's not as though we're replacing Ken. We're just allowing those founding values to remain in place.
He's going to be missed very much.